3 male hostages taken by Hamas returned to Israel after more than 15 months of captivity. The hostage release is part of a fragile ceasefire deal with Israel in which both parties agreed to lay down arms during hostage and prisoner swaps. Among those freed by Hamas was dual U.S.-Israeli national Sagi Dekochen. He reunited with his wife, who hid in a safe room with their 2 daughters during the October 7, 2023 attacks, in which Hamas took some 250 people hostage. The freed hostages arrived at a hospital as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio began a regional tour of the Middle East.
Hamas cannot continue as a military or government force. And frankly, as long as it stands as a force that can govern, or as a force that can administer, or as a force that can threaten by use of violence, peace becomes impossible. They must be eliminated. It must be eradicated.
As hostages saw their families and received medical care, both Rubio and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke of unity against Iran's regional influence.
Today, Secretary Rubio and I had a very productive discussion with our staffs on a number of issues. None of them are more important than Iran. Israel and America stand shoulder to shoulder in countering the threat of Iran. We agreed that the Ayatollahs must not have nuclear weapons. And we also agreed that Iran's aggression in the region has to be rolled back.
As part of the hostage deal, Israel released 369 Palestinian prisoners and detainees. 36 were serving life sentences. Israel calls these people terrorists. Palestinians call them freedom fighters. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump continued his push last week for the United States to seize control of Gaza and develop it.
We're going to have it, and we're going to keep it, and we're going to make sure that there's going to be peace, and there's not going to be any problem, and nobody's going to question it, and we're going to run it very properly, and eventually we'll have economic development at a very large scale, maybe the largest scale on that site.
Israeli military offensives flattened much of Gaza since the war with Hamas began. Israel says it targets terrorists. Palestinians call the strikes indiscriminate. Trump says he'd like to see regional actors like Egypt and Jordan take in the roughly 2.3 million Palestinians displaced from fighting. This is something neither government seems inclined to do. Arash, Arabasadi, VOA News.